My name is DrRic Sigil.
And action. Hey, Jay had a... This is Kirk And action. Hey everyone, it's Dr. And Lupe had a question about a growling stomach. So Lupe's trying to lose weight. I guess we're all trying to lose weight, most Americans, at least 2/3 of us. And one of the things that bothers her is a growling stomach, and it is actually okay. If this is the first time you're finding me, though, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the alert button to find out when I do new videos. So I call it the Ghrelin growl, growling stomach. So Ghrelin growl, Ghrelin is it's a hormone that's released from the stomach, and usually the hormone is released when the stomach is empty and it's time to eat. And that usually happens about 2 to 3 times a day. So we are used to timing of feeding, and usually most Americans eat 3 times a day. You're supposed to eat 3 times a day. If you're eating 5 times a day, that paradigm is gone and wrong. So really, you should have some break between your meals, at least 6 hours. The idea when your body is triggering and the stomach is empty and it's about that time to eat again, you see that with a lot of animals, is that the stomach starts to secrete, thinking they're going to get food, secretes acid, wants to start digesting, and suddenly, if you don't feed it the food that is necessary to be digested in the stomach, you got a lot of acid, there's no food, the rest of the colon tries to get rid of its contents, kind of like purging the system before new food comes in, so it gives you the urge to go poop. So that's what the growling is. The stomach sets off the chain, small intestine responds, tries to move things on quickly, then the large intestine says dump and empty. So if you don't eat anything though, some of us have this built-in mechanism or idealistic thinking that, shoot, I'm going to go hypoglycemic. And really, the body is built to not have hypoglycemia. There's a built-in mechanism during times of starvation and near death that you can get glucose in or energy into your most essential vital organs even with no food. And the average human can live 30 days without food. Water is a different story. But anyway, what happens sometimes is when that timing mechanism comes on, ghrelin's released, a hormone from the stomach to stimulate the brain through the vagus nerve here, and it's supposed to say hunt for food. And if you don't listen to it, and it's really strong, it'll say hunt for food loudly, and you'll start to hear this growling in the stomach. There are a couple of things you can do. One thing is you can eat, which kind of settles the stomach. It's like feeding a dog that always asks for food. And the dog will always ask for food every 5 minutes. You don't keep on doing that. You have to train the dog. Same with the stomach. You have to train the stomach to digest properly. You can't eat 2 hours before you sleep. You can't eat and lie down. You got to get some time between meals, because when you eat something and you satisfy this growling, you have a lot of solid in your digestive system, in your stomach breaking down, and then you have it high. The pancreas realizes that, and it starts to secrete insulin if the contents of the stomach are mostly carbohydrate. You can also have it with protein. You won't really have it with fat. So you'll have this high rise of insulin. It'll stay there for a couple hours, and then eventually it'll start to come down again to baseline. The problem when insulin is around, it's a good thing, but it starts to make you fatter. It puts away energy into the liver, into the adipose tissue. It takes away energy from the muscle. It's catabolic to muscle, it's anabolic to fat. So when insulin is high, you're not really going to be building muscle. You let that fall down, because eventually it goes down after a couple hours, and you let it sit low. And then eventually you eat your next meal, it comes back up high again, and it goes low. 6 hours later, I'd say, 6 to 8 hours later. The problem with having a meal every 3 hours, so you have breakfast and then a snack and then lunch and a snack, is your insulin goes high depending on the carbohydrate hit in the meal, and it starts to go down, and then you hit it up again, and it starts to go down, hit it up again. If your insulin is if it's constantly high throughout the entire day until you go to sleep, you've just told your body, break down muscle, build up fat. And that's no way to lose weight. So this Ghrelin growl, I want you to try to get used to it. It's okay. We have this built-in mechanism. Again, when my mom used to tell us it's time to eat, we would always eat when my dad came home from work, and we'd have to sit at the table, and we'd have to wait until he got home unless he was OB-GYN, so he sometimes had a delivery, but unless he was late, everybody at the table. I think that tradition is very important. And it's tradition, but I think that's not being practiced nowadays. And when we all eat together, it's the same time, usually every day. So the problem is when we have split families, when we have dual working incomes at the house, when we have kids that are doing sports, you come in any time and eat any time, which offsets the schedule for everybody, especially the provider in the house. Mom will eat a little bit when she's prepping. Mom will eat a little bit after everybody's done. Mom will eat a little bit with everybody because he doesn't want to let him eat, or he doesn't want to let him eat alone. So we have eating all day long, and your insulin constantly goes high. With high insulin, as you know, if you're diabetic and you take insulin, with high insulin, you will always have problems with gaining weight. You just ask any diabetic. That's why most of the endocrinologists nowadays are using non-insulin glucose lowering or insulin sensitizing medicines. So the idea is let that insulin bottom out. And that's one of the reasons why fasting works. Because fasting, if you go to fasting and you start to get a little hungry during the first couple of days, your insulin will bottom out, glucagon will come up. And glucagon, which is also secreted by the pancreas, I'll get to that in a later date, is another hormone, but it builds muscle, it tears up fat. So that's what we want. In fact, when Ghrelin is released from the stomach and it sends messages to the vagus nerve, to the brain, go eat something, it's time to eat, what happens is the brain secretes growth hormone. Growth hormone is what bodybuilders abuse. They try to get growth hormone in their bloodstream to get big muscle. So if Ghrelin is being secreted, your growth hormone is being high. So there's one positive thing that you can get from high growling of your stomach, and that you can guarantee that when your Ghrelin is causing the stomach to growl, your growth hormone is high. When your growth hormone is high, you lose weight, well, you build muscle and you lose weight. You chip away fat. You don't just chip away fat from the body. You chip away fat from that fat depot, that area where I like to think of it as when you see a bomb team try to defuse a bomb, they have this big container that they throw the bomb in, and it hopefully explodes in the container. This is a container. One thing goes in, which is energy and fat, triglycerides. Nothing comes out until the gut is ready. So it's really hard to get food or energy out of the gut once it's put in, unless you have glucagon. If insulin is around, you'll just have a one-way valve going into the gut, and you'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. Beer, sugared pops, carbohydrate load, a little bit of protein, bad food, processed food. So it's important to pick your meals, pick your fights, but it's also important to abstain a little bit. Embrace this Ghrelin growl. It's not that bad. When you get used to it, I don't know a lot of wrestlers and gymnasts that kind of stay away. They get used to that feeling of hunger, and then they know what's coming. And this too, after you tolerate this Ghrelin growl, and you know that your growth hormone is going at high levels and your insulin is dropping, embrace it, but don't binge after you get back into your meals. So if you just eat 2 meals a day, cool, but don't be starving yourself out. I had a guy, Manny, who is a diabetic, and he is good during the day. He kind of restrains during the day, but he just binges at 11 o'clock at night, and he knows it. The problem is, I think what was happening is he's misinterpreting some of his information to be that he's hungry at night, when actually he's probably either sleepy at night, and he's misinterpreting that, or because the brain, when it's tired, is going to want to get some kind of relaxation, and food causes a relaxation effect because it increases insulin, makes you sleepy. It can also be stress at night. You do all that stress, and you've been stressed out because you've been so tight with your calories during the day. At nighttime, with the cupboards there, the refrigerator there, the popcorn maker, the TV, you binge. So it's really tough. Also, sensory stimulation. When you go home, watch TV, you see all this. You see these food commercials on TV. You smell the food from everybody else eating it. Or on the way home, you pass by 10. I think I counted 13 from my office to my house. Fast food places, and you wonder, ooh, I wish I had that food. And you start thinking, and you have that Pavlov effect, or that behavioral effect where in Pavlov, you ring a bell, you give the dog food, and you ring a bell, and you give the dog food. Eventually, you just ring a bell, and the dog will salivate already without even giving him food, because we've been built to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you don't really have to do that. As a kid, that changes the dynamics and the rules a little bit, but trust me, really, I think America eats too much, so I think cutting back on the total calories per day would be important. A calorie is not a calorie, but cutting back on the total volume per day would be important. And then considering dropping that in insulin every once in a while and dealing with the Ghrelin growl, in addition to eating when it's time to refeed, eating the proper food. I always say eat like an athlete. If you eat like an athlete that's preparing for state finals, you know coach is not going to let you eat crap. He wants you to perform at your best. So you got to eat properly. So pace yourself. Eat slowly. Enjoy with everybody else. And hopefully your timing will be adjusted. The Ghrelin growl you'll be interpreting as a different kind of positive parameter. Embrace it. Even make more noise. But if it is embarrassing because of you're studying in a quiet place or you're in a meeting, there's ways to turn it off, but eventually your stomach does start to calm down because it gets used to the timing. So after about 2 weeks, it'll be cool. So just hang in there, reset your rhythm of eating, your rhythm of sleep, embrace what we can do, and hopefully you'll get past that and then reap the rewards of a low insulin level by losing weight out of this big pocket that we all carry. So good question. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. I appreciate you watching up until this point. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next Minute Clinic.